My name is Indianna Roehrich and this is Uncommon.
Uncommon is a production by Neuralle, an agency that helps both brands and talent tell their story. To learn more, just visit neuralle.com. That's neuralle.com. My guest this week is Indianna Roehrich, founder of 3 businesses, I'm told: Simply Social, PR, and of course the app as well. It's January. It's quiet. How are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, going into 2021. I mean, not much has changed from last year.
It was very funny. I don't know if your friends are like this, but seeing people's stories around like the Christmas break and New Year, and people thinking like, oh, this thing will just be gone. Like as soon as the clock turns 12,
yes,
like it's gone. Which I thought was very, very funny. I was saying before downstairs that there was very little dirt, goss, or any information, no inside jokes I could get off either Effie or Gemma.
Amazing. Thanks, guys.
Did you do your KX class today?
Oh, my Pilates.
Yeah.
Is that what you found?
Yeah, that's the best I could do.
Do you know what? I was actually saying this week, I'm like, I need to get back into my routine because that is something that I did religiously. Like I would, every single morning, 6 a.m, it's like a 10-minute walk from my house down to KX, and it was just that hour to myself where I actually am not allowed to look at my phone during the class.
That's the main thing,
So
right?
it's like phone down, Pilates time, and you just feel good.
When was the last time you were able to go?
Oh, I actually can't remember because of lockdown and everything. I did a lot of like at-home workouts or just going for long walks.
Because our gym has been closed since probably the Grand Prix.
Yes.
It's at City Club in the Grand Hyatt, which is technically part of the Grand Hyatt, but it's not. It's an actual gym, but they own it. And because of that, they've prioritised like guests. So all these members, yes, we're not paying, but our memberships are like basically on hold.
Right.
And they won't open until the 1st of Feb.
Really?
It's really weird. I don't think I've used any weights. The only time I have was at my parents' bought some dumbbells at home, and that was like a month ago.
Yeah, you kind of get to that point where you're like, if you don't work out, you're going to go insane.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we're trying to do like body weight stuff, but I just I don't know. I really need that gym environment. At the moment.
Yeah. So I'm like the opposite. I can't go to a gym and work out. Like it just won't happen. It just will not happen. I will just
sit on your phone.
I will sit on my phone, or I recently got a bike. Okay. So now I sit on my bike when I'm posting, and I don't get off the bike until all my posts are done. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing because...
How many posts are we doing?
I could be there for hours. I could be there for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, because once you post it, then there's the engagement that comes straight after that. And with social, the quicker the better, right? So I was on there at like 10:30 last night. Jesus.
Wow, that's interesting then. So what, as a business owner during all this, what's your morning and evening routine been like?
I was kind of used to working from home prior to going into lockdown because, as I was saying to you earlier when I first walked in, I was working from my home for at least 4 or 5 years before I moved into our new office space. And I was kind of used to that routine. And I think that's the hardest part, is finding that routine. So when I first started my business, I was super strict with the hours I worked. So 6 a.m, I'd be up, 6 till 7, have breakfast, have a shower, get dressed. Okay. Get dressed like you're going to work. Get out of your PJs, get dressed like you're going to work, sit down, have a proper lunch break. Because otherwise you just don't do it. You'll like go put the washing on, you'll vacuum. Yeah. You will do everything to avoid doing, a bit like doing your tax. Yeah. You avoid everything to actually do that.
Do the work.
Yeah.
So has that held since then? Like, because obviously you would have had to work from home during COVID. Or were you...
No,
by then you were just like,
I went into the office. I was like, I think you get... When you've done it for so long and you kind of finally got a space to separate work and life balance, which is something that I found really hard to do. And I've now got a space to go into and separate that. I'm so much more productive in the office. So
really?
I just worked from there and everyone else worked from home.
We've been thinking about that a lot, actually. I think it's really, you just don't switch off.
You don't. Even like when you're cooking dinner or, you know, you have to have that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a weird scenario now, like I was saying to you, we're looking for an office, but it's not exactly clear as to, like, let's say you go to a co-working space, what this 25 or 50% rule means in those environments, and, like, do you commit to that space when only half your staff can actually be there? Which is really just you.
You'll love it. Like, I love it. I like going there and I'm like, yes, this is my time to, like, get my work done.
Oh, so there's you don't have any staff coming into the office yet?
I did in December.
Okay.
Because we were allowed to have people come back in. I think November and October we were allowed people in, so I had people in. But we will, like, when we can, probably from next week. Yeah.
Are most of your staff on break at the moment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But, like, if we work with a few contractors, they still work throughout, like the guys on the app or something like that. Okay. So, yeah. So we don't really stop.
So I'm thinking, like, I asked a lot of my guests about, like, their early childhood, and I was reading through all this stuff, and obviously your parents had always been in business, very similar to my own. But I was just thinking, like, what's sort of the earliest memory you have of your childhood?
My auntie was telling me this story the other day. She was like, do you remember when you used to set up your own shop at your grandma's house? So no joke, I'd like set up a shop and she found like a receipt thing. It was like indie shop, like had like Coke, lollies, sandwiches, all priced like triple the price of what they were. Like a Coke was like $15. I was like, naturally, I'd set up a shop from my grandma's house where my parents were working. They dropped me there, and I think I always wanted to run some sort of business. Even like when I was like 12 or 13, I'd turn my bedroom into an office and people would have to make an appointment with me. Like I even set up like a blow up couch in there, rotated my desk, which was my school desk, into an office. Like it was always something that I wanted to do.
And why do you think you had that? Like I often refer to the fact that there's little things for me that always become apparent. But like my dad's business, he's a printer. Okay. So he's got a factory. It always smelled like fresh paper. Yeah. So I get little things like nostalgia for the smell of like freshly printed paper. There's something about being your own boss that I could not have articulated at the time, but maybe it was a leadership component, maybe it was like the ownership of what you were doing with your life. I don't know what it was, but for me, that there was that affinity with what my parents were doing. Yeah. So I wonder, where was it in particular, like watching them in the workplace that you had?
Like my parents are such hard workers, and so is my brother. I think you see, like, you're kind of like learning. You're learning without realising you're learning business. Like indirectly. So like when maybe I was 12 or 13 or so, Mum and Dad had a florist shop and I would go in there and I would just see everything happening, like staff or customers coming in, and the smile customers got when they received their bouquet of flowers, or those experiences, and then providing a service to customers. And when they stopped running their flower shop business, they went into the wholesale side of it. So they did B2B, so they were supplying all the florists within Melbourne or Sydney or Dubai or wherever, and they were growing their own flowers then. So when I started uni, I go do uni and then I go work at the flower markets at night time. So the flower markets are 3 days a week. Yeah. And they start from 10 p.m. on a Monday night and they go till 7 a.m. on the Tuesday, and same on the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I was doing that in between uni, and I was also modelling as well at the same time, because when you're in a family business, you're always in the family business, whether you like it or not. And because...
But it's also a great way to earn money.
Yeah, it is. But I never did it for the money.
Yeah.
Like, I did it because that's what you had to do.
Yeah.
And I kind of fell in love with the marketing side of their business. So when I was in my final semester of uni, I then started, I said to Mum, look, Instagram, just come out. Let's put you guys on there. And because they're B2B, it was unheard of for a B2B to be on social media. It wasn't like a thing like it is now.
Yeah.
It was a lot of B2C going on social. And so I did it. And at the time, my dad was like, no, like, just don't waste your time on it. Mum was like, try it. So I started putting their products. So my dad would grow the flowers, pick it, take a photo, send it to me. I posted on social media. My mum would call me and she'd say, Indy, we've sold out, take it down, take it off Instagram. My phone will not stop ringing.
Wow.
And I did this strategy called #CreateWithDakota.
Okay.
So I wanted florists to share what they were making using their flowers.
Okay.
And it went nuts.
And Dakota was the name
Their
of
business,
okay.
Dakota Flowers. It's still around. And that's when I knew I was onto something. I was like, if you've got a good plan in place and you know your customer, that's another thing. I knew their customer, so I could talk to them really well through social media because I was in the business.
Okay.
And I was there when they were receiving their flowers. And I was actually saying to them, you know, what do you want to see on social media? What would you like to learn about? Which at that time, going back to learning, but I wasn't realising at the time how much I was learning, because that's the stuff that I do every single day now. Yeah. Like before I take on a client, I get to know their business.
And did you ever, at that time when you were doing this stuff for Dakota Flowers, the family business, did you ever think about, like, it wouldn't have been in your mind as positioning at the time, but did you look at like competitors and what they were doing, just generally about how they were talking to their customers and how you would, like, you must have at that point as well started to develop like a tone of voice that was your parents into the
competitors
marketing.
For Dakota or for...
Yeah, for Dakota.
We were the first ones to be on it.
Really?
We were the first ones, to the point where, like, I built their website and other people would come and copy that website, so I'd rebuild another website. And it was just this ongoing thing.
Never-ending loop.
Still happens.
Really?
Still to this day. But people don't realise, I think, that I'm the one posting it for them. So anyone else who kind of comes along and competes with them will just never get...
So that must have been really interesting for you, because you would have opened your mind to this world of marketing. But what was it that made you think... Obviously, you said you were studying at the time, right? So you would have been at RMIT?
Yeah, so I was studying at RMIT. Didn't think I'd get in. I actually did the 2 business courses there. I did the business and the advanced. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'll apply for Bachelor of Public Relations. Okay. Anyway, I've applied for the wrong course and I've got into this other course, which is PropCom, Professional Communications instead. Of the PR one. Yeah. And so those announcements of who got in were made, and all my friends from the TAFE got into this PR one.
And you got into
and I was like, well, they hadn't even announced that yet. And I was like, oh shit, I've applied for the wrong course. So I ended up doing the ProvCom, which maybe Gemma Watts was in that one, where I met her in there. Really?
You end up doing a lot of the same units anyway.
It's all the same stuff, really, at the end of the day. But when I was studying that, a stylist who was also like a set designer bought flowers from my mum. And she was like, Mum was like, oh, you know, Indy really likes fashion and this stuff. So she's like, oh, well, here's my number. Get her to give me a call. So I called her. I was still quite young. I would have been around 20 or so. Okay. And I just loved everything about being on a set, or like seeing how things came together as opposed to being in front of the camera. I loved being behind it and like seeing how the models came to set, or how the set design was built, or the fashion that was going into it, and those creative concepts. Yeah.
Why do you think you liked that more?
There was a lot more work involved in it than just showing up. like I liked seeing it from start to finish.
Yeah, you sort of come across as an A-type individual who likes shaping a thing as opposed to passively being involved in something.
Yeah, I like to start from the absolute bottom and then build something up.
Yeah.
And when I was assisting her, it ended up being for quite a few years, and we were on a set one day and a lady who she had 2 fashion brands, so we're shooting their campaign, and they were stocked in 60 Maya stores for 2 labels, and she said to Virginia Dowser, who was the stylist I was assisting, do you know anyone who can do social media? And she's gone, oh, well, Indy knows how to do it. She does it for Dakota Flowers. And I was like, oh my goodness. I don't really know what I'm doing. And anyway, I ended up having like a meeting with her the next week.
Yeah.
It wasn't just her, she was like 60, and it was like 6 or 7 of her staff.
Wow.
And I like went in and I remember reading a quote at the time, and it was like, feel the fear and do it anyway. Or it was like that 10 seconds of confidence.
Yeah.
So as soon as I walked in that room, I was like, you're going to be confident for 10 seconds and then just let it roll. So anyway, I pitched this like strategy to them, and then it came around to like when I had to send my first invoice. I was like, oh shit, I better think of a name. I better actually run a business now.
Did you have an ABN at the time? Had you registered the business?
I think I had an ABN, but I didn't have like a name or like an invoicing template or anything like that.
Yeah.
I kind of was just like, and I think I said to my dad at the time, I said, well, like, what should I do? Like, everyone's starting to apply for jobs right now. And he was just like, just do it yourself. Like, I already had 5 or 6 clients by the time I finished uni. Yeah. And it just didn't make sense for me to go work for someone else or bring those clients across. And no one was doing social media. No one just had a social media agency 5-6 years ago.
No, it was a very different, very, very different. I mean, now today, a full service digital agency, like social is the key component of that. It is the new billboard.
It is.
At the end of the day. I was reading a really interesting book. I've actually got it on my... I've referenced this so many fucking times now, people laugh at it. It's called Hey Whipple Squeeze This. It's just on the desk over there. And the guy talks about how... Hey Whipple Squeeze This. Yeah. And it's like everyone apparently who gets into... Because I didn't come from the industry, like I said, I studied commerce, like more finance-related areas, but in marketing and sales. And I read the copy book, which everyone suggests to read, and then I read this Hey Whipple book. And this guy was just talking about when it comes to digital, we're going through the initial era of what they had in the 50s and 60s when it came to both TV and billboards, in that you just had to be the first. Yeah. And now we're in this era of the 70s and 80s where it's all about creativity because everyone's advertising. Yes. And that's the same thing in social. Like I noticed... In every case, that's what I was asking before about positioning. When you look at like the Facebook ads library, so many people do the same boring old shit when it comes to ads.
And that's where they get it wrong, because if you've got an agency, you actually get higher ROI from better creative. So there's all these people who are just putting money into Facebook ads, or even if you do it organically well, that can go nuts. Yeah. My business started like that.
It would be better to put the money into creative and spend less on the ad spend because... But anyway,
I'm so glad you said that, because that is just one of my things where I'm like, no.
Well, I was saying this to a client recently, like you want an ad that when you run the ad, you initially run it click-based, right? So you're testing your audience, you're getting data on the pixel, and then you can get like a lookalike audience. But generally you should already have that if you've run ads in the past. But once you have that, you can immediately switch it back to an impression-based ad to then scale, because the problem now is that people think, okay, if I do an ad, I'm just going to increase the cost and then my revenue goes up. But what you actually want is you want the cost to go down, not increase, because otherwise it's not scalable. It's just it's just like being in an ordinary services business where you increase word of mouth by just hiring more and more people. Marketing is a form of media. It needs to be scalable. That's what makes creators so amazing, is they can...
So important. And there's very few people that can think creatively to get that.
Like so I've started challenging a lot of clients on like, do we actually Like, because, you know, we've gone through this era of, what's the word I used the other day in the call? It was like permission-based or, controlled messages. So, like, we've gone through this era of, like, you control the message versus, like, community or encouragement type messages where you get more creators to do the creative. I've actually noticed that often it is better to just get a creator to do the creative because it's more affordable in the end. Mm-hmm. So long as you've got the right client, the tricky part is getting the client to see it. And we're still getting to that point of getting the right, you know, we're still a very young agency. I'd need like a head of insights or strategy to really get the data to just show people so they can shut the fuck up and just listen.
Well, and often, like, take it back, like, 5 years ago to compared to now, is that consumers are a lot smarter with what they see.
They're not dumb.
An ad that's actually created with, like, a real person using that product or wearing that product or drinking that drink is going to perform 10 times better than a really polished ad that's probably cost a client their whole marketing budget. You know what I mean? You actually...
For the quarter or for the year.
Yeah, but a lot of people are too scared to take the risk.
Yeah.
And that's where they lose.
Yeah, and that's why we still are in that early days of the influencer game, I find.
Yeah.
Even though we've gone through the whole Instagram permutation of it, I think the next era is what is happening on TikTok. And we've gotten pretty big in the talent space, I would say.
For TikTok?
For TikTok, yeah. Like we have about 4 creators on our roster now, but I think by the end of the month we'll have about 20.
Wow.
So, like, I'm of the belief that the future of creative is a combination of actual creators and agencies managing a brief and utilising what they already have, like the camera rig or the strategist or whatever it is. But we'll see. I mean, this is going to be a longer term.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere.
I know there's a lot of people that still don't believe in it for their business. And like when I was in New York, not last year, unfortunately, the year before, I went to like so many places and I was like, social media is not going anywhere. Yeah. Like it is just getting bigger and the later you choose to get on it, you are missing out on opportunities.
Well, the thing I found really interesting recently is the amount of people who went from the PR game to influencer management or the talent management game to specifically Instagram influencers who are poo-pooing TikTok. And I'm just like, aren't you repeating what your boss did?
What do you mean? Like
as in they don't see any value in it.
In TikTok?
Yeah. Which I find really...
Depends what the brand is. Like there's some brands out there...
No, I'm not talking about a brand. I'm talking about influencer managers.
Ah.
Yeah, which has been very interesting. And their opinion may have changed in the last 3 months, but I'm talking about the start of last year.
They can make a lot of money on TikTok.
A lot of money, but also what I've noticed is how... Because of that, no one takes TikTok creators seriously just because they're on TikTok. That's it. Which is really, really odd.
Which is like...
So no one is... That's why it's been so easy for us to build such a quick and high quality roster is because like everyone that responds to us is like, oh, wow, like no one's reached out to me about management before.
Right.
What's actually involved? I'm like, really?
So you guys are managing TikTok people?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's really good.
So...
Yeah, we spend like... When I first like got into TikTok...
I spent hours on it.
I lost maybe a whole day. Because I was just like, it's so funny. And I think it's because they grab you so quickly and you don't get bored.
But the algorithm knows you so well.
Yeah.
I haven't actually looked at my... Here we go. This is quite telling if you look at maybe look at the week. Okay, so...
Or like how long? Oh, you don't want to know my
Instagram.
stats.
So this has been the most interesting thing for me, probably since about mid last year, has been the shift away. I still use Instagram. I still like it. But number one, in terms of usage on a weekly basis, TikTok, without a doubt. And it's like 3 times Instagram.
Wow.
So like I'm using, this is just for, is it this week? So this is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we're halfway through the day. 6 hours on TikTok versus 2.5 on Instagram is the next one. Then YouTube, Reddit, Chrome, obviously the internet.
Yeah.
So that has been really insightful to me, is how much time I'm spending on it.
Yes.
But the thing I was going to ask you earlier before we went on this this merry dance is, obviously you spoke to your dad and you're like, okay, I've got these clients, may as well go do it on my own. Why did you ever think in your mind, oh, maybe I should get into the family business? Maybe I should get into flowers myself?
Yes, I was kind of like, maybe I'll run a florist shop like my mum and dad did. But then I asked mum and she said, no, you don't want to do that. She's like, the bridezillas, I'll tell you now. She's like, you don't want to do it. But I do remember dad, because my brother's still in the business, he works on the farm and like grows the flowers and picks and everything. And he started a few little other businesses too. But I remember my dad saying to my brother, you need to let Indy do her own thing. Like, and she's going to go do her own thing now. Yes, she'll still do our marketing and EDMs and social, but she needs to find what she likes to do as well. Because I've done all that. I've done all the buckets, the unpacking flowers, the picking, not so much picking, sorry, but like planting, and all that stuff. Like,
Did you ever perceive a way of maybe getting into more of the digital retail space? Because no one's really done that well.
Done what well?
Like retail, like when I think of flowers, I can only really think of a few different areas. There's the Bungles by Interflora during last year, and a few other brands. Other than that, the only time I've seen really good floristry brands is a friend who's got like wedding stuff, but it's highly competitive. And then actual retail is the shop that's on Spring Street and Poland, which is on Flinders Lane. I was obsessed with that place.
So, yeah, like my parents, like they had Collins Place Flowers, which was the top.
Oh, really?
And they were probably the best at that time.
Yeah.
And they've been doing that for 25 years.
Yeah.
So my mum nailed that space.
Yeah.
Like she'd owned that space. And there's a few other florists that have opened up, like Kate Hill Flowers, which is beautiful flowers. They've recently moved to South Melbourne. But there's people like that who I'm like, you know, you're at the top of your game there, and it's not something that I love. Like I love social media. I love brands when they are just have no clue who they are or what their target market is or how they can best turn one piece of content into 15. Like I love doing that. Like that is a challenge for me. The other stuff is not too much of a challenge. It's
it's just it sort of sounds like you're inherently an extroverted person, but also you had, I don't know, what is it about marketing that we like?
It's like an adrenaline rush you get. So like if you post something and you know it's sold out somewhere, like I get that. So if we post,
but there's a sort of there's a sort of wizardry to that.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
Like it's weird to think that you can use this little block.
Yeah.
And you can punch a few ones and zeros, and then all of a sudden this physical thing is selling like mad. It just goes back to the story that you told about how you posted that image and then your mum's like, fuck,
still happens. I'll send out an EDM or I'll do a few posts and she'll say, sold out, well done. Or like it happens with other clients as well, like we've sold out or we've risen by 200% in sales in this product. It happens. You just have to know that brand.
Yeah.
And it also has to work with that client as well. They have to be open to trying new things. We've had clients in the past who are not open to new ideas, who just want to stay on the safe side. And I have to say now, sorry, we can't work together because I know it's not going to work.
Yeah, it never does.
It's not worth it, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting that as well, like being selective about clients. I've had this recently where I was saying to you before, like I've completely taken over the main sales components, but having a bunch of strategists to help out with stuff. And because of it, it's made me so busy that I have to be really selective with who I meet. And I'm actually just I've made like a very high watermark. Like people have to spend at least $1,000 to $1,500 a month with us minimum. Whereas last year we just fucking take anything.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it was, you could argue COVID, but what I actually learnt was that clients who don't spend at least this amount, actually we lose money in them.
Yeah.
So, it's actually been a very interesting learning curve in that regard.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the business in terms of those early years. You said before, those 5 clients.
Yeah.
So I think the interesting thing for me was, like, a lot of people always say the first sale is the hardest, and I actually argue it's not, because oftentimes if you're doing a thing and you're putting it out there, people approach you.
Yes.
So we had the same thing that happened to you, where we were making the podcast. It was just a podcast, and then someone said to us, "Hey, how do you do this?" By the 6th time, I was like, "Fuck it! Like, we'll do it for you. We'll charge 30% on top.
Yeah.
This is how much it is." And that was our first client. And then you work it out from there. They speak. You get a few more. Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest part I've found is, how do you sell to complete and utter strangers, and how do you scale that? How did you learn that in the first couple of years, would you say?
I'm going to say I think I was quite lucky, but I worked my ass off. All of my clients have been by referral.
Well,
And it happened to be somewhere. But in saying that, I might have met someone 2 years ago, and then they come to me 2 years down the line. And I think some people might think, oh, you know, she made that happen really quick. And I'm like, well, no, that was actually 2 years ago.
yeah.
Nurtured that relationship to then, and then it happened. Or people who I might have used to work with in the modelling industry, which was 10 or 12 years ago now, have come back around, and now they're working somewhere, or they've started a business. And
so they've been following you, and, you know, they just notice, oh, hey, she does this.
I kind of, like, I think it was Indy does social. She can do it. And because at that time, like, social was just social media, but now it's like ads, strategy, content creation, copywriting, posting, community management. Like, there's so different facets that fall under social media.
But it's so funny you say that, because I feel like when I was chatting to Effie, this is the line she said to me: she can always be seen running around behind the scenes, iPhone in hand, snapping content. Like
me?
That, yeah,
that is me in a nutshell.
And I was just thinking in my mind, like, when you said that, it's like, okay, yeah, people see you with the phone, they see you on social media.
And I probably have like 3 or 4 phones on me, a camera, you know, a USB like transfer, my laptop. I'll never leave the house without a laptop with me. Like, it's you're doing so many things, but I think you also have to be quite a calm and patient person, which I think I am, because you cannot do it if you're not, because social is about consistency.
Yeah.
And it's something that you need to actually be consistent with to see results. And I think a lot of people who aren't used to it want results right now. They think as soon as they jump on, do you have this as well? Like, if you get a new client and they're like, oh, I haven't grown, it's only been a month. It's like, talk to me in 5 years. When you can
we had this recently. It was like, oh, I've done, we've been doing this for 3 months or whatever. And like, so it wasn't me on the call, it was our strategist and Lauren, who's the creative director. And they're like, yeah, you've done 20 posts a month and it's all organic.
Yeah.
It's not too surprising.
Yeah.
People assume that if you start spending $1,000 a month or a couple grand a month, that all of a sudden you're going to be swimming in sales. But, you know, you've got to have certain approaches for certain things.
Look, ultimately, a good product will sell itself too.
Exactly.
You do still need marketing. You do still need social media. You do still need influencers, because it's a part of your brand's ecosystem. But you have to have a really good product.
Yeah.
And you have to have a good story behind that product.
And how to position it, and which is what that story component is about. We've had this thing recently where it was probably one of the best things that Julia did when she came on board, was we get a marketing plan. We literally just go through all those key things that you spoke about, and then we articulate all the channels, and then we just like cut all the channels down and just focus on specific ones and do them right.
Yeah.
Because what was I saying? I was saying to Lauren the other night, so many people another call we had the other day. Someone is like, oh, I want to do this product video, and we're going to advertise on
everywhere,
Facebook and all the TikTok. And I'm like, do you have a website?
Are you like immediately thinking, oh my God, different sizes, formats, music?
Exactly. I'm just like, oh, this is a 10K project. And there's like, oh, if we need to do it right, we'll do it right, we'll spend the money. I'm like, yeah, right. But, no website, no pay-per-click, which is like for the industry they were in the tool space, it's just like a no-brainer. What the fuck? Like, if you type in the brand, nothing comes up but some site that they're listed on to buy the product.
Yeah, right.
So sometimes you just have to give people, that's actually the thing that I like the most about the industry, is giving people a reality check.
Yes.
So yeah, that's always a fun component of...
It's good that you do that though, because a lot of people don't.
Yeah, they'll just take the money. A lot of people
go, no worries. And then
it's not worth the stress.
It's not worth it. Like, I'm the exact same. I will be so upfront and honest, like with brands and businesses, and I'll say, this will work if you do this or not. And then sometimes they don't like to hear. Oh.
They don't want to hear it, and they'll go to someone else.
Yeah, and I'm like, fine, run down there.
Yeah.
Literally.
But I find that in the long run is better for your brand, because you become a trustworthy, like, I don't know if you've ever felt this, but I find this industry, having not come from it, is like the real estate game.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone can start it. You got to go, like, it's actually harder to get into real estate because you got to go do like a quick cert course.
Yes.
So anyone can start an agency.
Yeah.
Anyone can start selling any product that they offer, so long as they can sell it. Yeah. And it means that there's a lot of schmucks in the industry. So I find that because of that alone actually makes it easy to stand out, because you offer such a, a trustworthy opinion, a rational opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess like as anyone we take on, I would treat it like as if it's my business too, and I want the best for that business, because it's a reflection of me at the end of the day as well. And I've got to love their product as well. Yeah. I've got to love it. I've got to trial it myself, because at the end of the day, we're then writing about it.
Yeah.
And how can you write about it if you haven't tried it or if it doesn't work?
Yeah. Well, that's what's, covered in that Hey Whipple book, is like, if you want to do any form of copywriting or anything about a brand, you got to go to the factory. You got to look
touch it,
what's in the bin. Like, what do their business cards look like?
I remember with Dakota Flowers, it was like, I think it was a Mother's Day, right? Okay. Busiest time of the year for florists, because everyone has a mum, not everyone has a lover when it comes to Valentine's Day. So I said, this was like ages ago, I was like, let's get stress balls made for the florists with our branding on it. So when they come in, we'll hand them out stress balls.
What the fuck? That's hilarious.
It was good. And we did that. But it was Instagrammable, right? Yeah, right? So we did like an Instagrammable moment, and we also made a bit of a laugh and joke. And,
bit of a meme.
And they laughed. They weren't stressed, but you get florists in there at like 1 a.m. and it's like... It's stressful.
Fuck. Yeah. That was one thing that always fascinated me about the flower game, is that, so we had a family friend, we were always like amazed, like how does this family make so much money? And then like we've worked out that they were like a massive wholesaler in the business.
Flowers.
Yeah. Huge wholesaler. They were often importing a lot of international. I actually cannot remember the last name, but I'll have to ask my dad this, because all of a sudden we stopped sort of, I remember we used to hang out with them so much, and then all of a sudden it just sort of, people drift apart. Yeah. But I always remember going to their farm. I actually remember the first like time on a motorbike.
Let me know,
Yeah, I'll definitely
they're probably one of the bigger growers.
They live in Brighton.
Okay.
They actually do a lot of importing.
Okay.
More than actual growing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he always would be like, we got back, I remember we get back from the farm, because I had this farm in Yea, and we get back and he's like, oh yeah, I've got to get to sleep because I'm going to be up. I'm like, what time you'd be up? He's like 3, 4 a.m. I'm like, holy fuck. Like, and he wasn't even the one going to the market. He was just, he was just overlooking stuff. Yeah.
It's like, and I guess going back to like flowers is a bit like fruit and veg. So
Yeah,
if it's
yeah.
not sold that day, it's off.
It's done. Yeah.
And that's kind of the same with, I guess, PR. If a product's launching or a new brand is coming to the market, it needs to be launched right, because the first time you introduce it, it's that person who picks up that client has to do a lot of work if it's not done right.
That's a really good analogy.
And I've had it happen multiple times. And that's why with like my team as well, if something comes out, it needs to go out that day or the next day, but right, because it's old, it's stale.
Yeah, no, it's right. If you read a lot of PR releases, in hindsight, it's like, oh yeah, this thing has changed completely as to what it was spoken about at the time. So you can understand, like, it becomes really perishable.
Especially if you're like the third, like, or if you're like one of the last people to receive a release. It's not going into print. That's not going anywhere.
Not at all. It's not.
You know what I mean? So it's the
anywhere.
same type of, and yeah, I definitely think I got that from flower trade, because I remember my mum and dad would always say, okay, these need to be sold today.
Yeah.
So I would upsell, make sure they were sold today.
Yes, you. Are you intrigued by this episode? If so, go to our footer on the website, neuralle.com, neuralle.com. We're going to give you an insight. Each week it's going to be on business, marketing, or a topic that we covered in the episode. At all, we'd love your support, and it would help us in developing the intellect around this series. But without going on too much longer, let's get back into this episode.
You mentioned before about how, like, you find the business to be a reflection of yourself, and that's why you'll often go to extreme lengths. And I think that's just, it's probably a good thing. I think it's a worry if you're running a business, and like I'll wonder, like, Lauren will pick up her phone at like 9:30 and I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, this post didn't go out right, so I have to double check it.
Yeah.
And there's a certain guilt there, because you can't just leave it. You'd feel horrible otherwise. But how have you, like you've mentioned in previous interviews, the key to growing a business was actually delegation. Mm-hmm. When do you know it's time to hand over something? How do you get the confidence in doing that? Do you, like, we have this ridiculous handbook where we literally just write down what a task is.
I started writing a handbook and I was like, I need someone to do this.
Yeah. Well,
trust me, on a plane, I've got a handbook that's like half done, and I started writing on a plane.
Jesus.
And it just...
Well, I just started with it in the beginning. It was the best thing I ever did.
Writing a handbook,
Yeah, and now it's like 55 pages long. But I'm always trying to cut it down because I feel like there's too much shit in there. But then like a staff member will say like, no, this is handy. I always go, it's always the best when you go back into it. And because we use Google Docs and you can see like all the other staff that are in it. It's like, fuck. At least I know when I put in this effort to do this thing that people use it. So that, like, when I think of delegation, I like just want to teach someone a task, make sure it's documented, and then I just say like, go do it, and then I just come back and review things over time. Or are you more finicky with the way that you delegate?
I kind of just say, like, just do it, and then I'll review it, and just see how that person performs and if it's up to scratch. Pretty much. But I'm a big believer in do it right the first time, so you don't have to do it 3 times again. Yeah. And that's, I read emails 3 times before I send them. I'm literally that person myself, and
Lauren's like that as well.
Yeah, I guess a bit of a perfectionist in that sense, but delegating's hard. But as hard. You grow, you have no option but to delegate, because you cannot work 24/7. And I did that for so long, working till, 2 a.m. at the start, like big days, Monday to Sunday. Jeez. And you kind of get to a point where you need to switch off to get better ideas. Yeah. And if I didn't prioritise switching off, I wouldn't be creative enough to produce good work for my clients. So I needed to delegate to have time to go for a walk or do an hour at KX Pilates to get ideas happening again. Because otherwise, if you're focused on doing all the admin and setting up meetings or scheduling things, you don't get that time to do what people actually pay you to do.
Yeah, which is be creative.
And yeah, so sometimes you just need to take a little step back and go, what is something that someone else actually can do and can do better than me? You know, and let them own that position. Like if someone like comes on board and they really own that position and they're excited about it and they're like high-fiving and they're like, oh my God, I just planned all this out or just did all this. I'm like, yes, perfect. You're the right person.
Do you, have you ever found that like you've suffered from like panic attacks or anxiety or anything like that through running the business?
No, I just turn into a crazy person.
Define what that means.
No, I'm pretty calm and really patient. My partner is even more calmer and patient than me, which I think is incredible. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's like nothing can't be fixed, you know, and mistakes happen. I think mistakes are great. Like they're the best way to learn. So if you're not scared of making mistakes and you're prepared to like take a risk, like it's all fine in the end.
Yeah.
I think I've never had like a panic attack as such, but there has been moments where, like for example, if you're involved in Grand Prix, Fashion Week and Flower and Garden Show, which all happen in March, and you've got a team of 7 or 8 people that you're looking after and, you know, you've got a dog and a partner at home and, like, you're trying to do everything, it can get a bit too much. But I started for a little bit. I started, like, scheduling in time into my calendar for myself.
Yeah. Like during the week, the weekend, during
the week, Monday to Sunday, just different times. And, like, every morning I'll make sure I have half an hour to myself, whether that's, like, having a cup of coffee and just doing nothing work-related.
And what are you finding you're doing at the moment?
I still do that. Like, I still do.
But if you ordinarily, when you would do that, would you browse, scroll on social media, watch YouTube?
I would literally, don't laugh at this. This is so bad. I have 2 laptops under my bed.
God.
I literally just like roll over out of bed like, we're starting. We're starting work at 6 or 5:30, whatever. So now I only started doing this when I went to New York 2-3 years ago now, and we were with like a coach, and he said, successful people every morning do something. What's your thing that you do? And I was like, oh shit, I need to start doing something.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, half an hour to myself. Vanessa, who's on our like app as well, we're doing a podcast interview. She was there with me, and she has something that she did too. So we were like, oh, we need to do something. But I have a coffee every single morning, whether that's on the roof, and I just sit there and it's my moment of zen, because I know every single day is full on.
Yeah.
Every single day is full, and my phone can ring from 6 a.m., 7 a.m. So if I don't have that time to myself, I feel more in control of the day when I've had that.
Yeah. So it's sort of like a form of, not involuntary meditation, it's sort of like a passive form of meditation in a way. What have you found recently that you've been daydreaming about for the last few weeks when you do that?
I think, like, obviously every day is kind of set up and planned out as such, but in that time in the morning, I'm almost like goal setting. Yeah. So I'm like, what do I want to achieve this week? What do I want to do next year or the year after? What do I want to make sure, what framework am I putting in place to keep growing the business? Yeah. And what other areas can I delve into? Or removing myself from the business, and what would it look like, or different aspects would you be doing of it? Because, I'm always thinking about the next thing.
Yeah, same. So which can be a double-edged sword. Yeah,
so I think about it in the morning now instead of 2 o'clock at night.
I've had this thing recently because like a bunch of things have to happen at the same. We're getting married in April.
Oh, are you? Yeah.
It was bumped from last year. Yeah. As I was saying before, we've got.
Can suggest a florist and get some good wholesaling prices.
That friend who runs like a wedding. Mm-hmm. What do you call that? Like a wedding floristry business or a wedding?
Yeah, they specialise in weddings.
Weddings, yeah. what a year she's had. That's been a tough year.
Yeah, so, and a lot of florists adapted to dried flowers because they were a little bit more expensive, but they're not going to die.
Exactly.
And there's more longevity and security in that, and that's what they had to do to survive.
I would have found that people would still have bought, like obviously not as much because we're not socialising as much.
And they wanted to close down that industry for a bit.
Really?
Yeah, so the wholesalers, that side of it, which the growers were like...
What the fuck?
Like there was actually a video that went out of all of the growers just dumping flowers.
Wow.
Yeah. Because people weren't buying local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because flowers you can't, like when they have to be harvested at an exact point, right? Like we're talking about a window of a week.
Yeah, and you could have like
a
a hailstorm that could wreck your whole crop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's crop based as well. Fuck. Yeah, it'd be such a tough business as a grower. Yeah,
natives grow like they're really sturdy.
Yeah.
But they also can last you for weeks, and they look beautiful when they're dried.
Yeah, I've had this thing recently, probably since December last year, where I've really gotten into bonsai. I don't know if you saw them on the.
My boyfriend has two.
Does he?
Yeah, they're like his children. Like.
Really? Yeah. I'll show you downstairs afterwards. I've installed I just got a landscape gardener to install like $1,000 sprinkler system.
For the bonsais?
Yeah.
Oh no, don't.
It's ridiculous. You'll see, because we don't have a water source on this.
You just water them?
Yeah, but we were away, and so I didn't want them to be lose any water, and I didn't trust anyone to water it properly.
Okay, well now you know that there's another bonsai owner up the road.
I'll hit him up.
And you can
hit him up next
bonsai
time.
services, he can do that.
Smash it. It's so funny because it's become a really, really big thing as I've gotten into it. But yeah, I've completely exhausted the space out there, but I've gone from wanting the traditional style of bonsai, like maples, pines, junipers. I've got an olive, Greek background, an olive bonsai is really rare to find. And now I've gotten really into natives. The native bonsais are fascinating because you can get really well grown stuff local that can be really, really old. They do this thing called yamadori, which is you go into the wild and you find a naturally occurring bonsai, where it's grown in a sandy, gravelly base.
And you just transplant it.
You transplant it, yeah. They there's a 30% chance they die.
Okay.
So it's really hard to do, and you have to do it.
Yeah, that would give me anxiety.
Yeah, but when you do it, they're fucking amazing. We're talking plants that are probably worth tens of thousands of dollars.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting into this thing. It's a real hobbyist space. Now, why did we get into talking about bonsai? We're talking about crops and shit like that. I can't even fucking remember.
It was
crops of flowers. I can't even remember.
It's like that. They're grown that day, cut, needed to be sold that day.
Yes. So, one thing I was going to ask you, if we talk more specifically about the agency space. So, I'm trying to work out what your niche and fit in the market is. And, when you look at it, you've got the app, the shop front, which is really interesting because obviously you look to integrate that showroom element of the fashion industry. Obviously, the social and the PR business. Where do you guys find yourself? How are you often differentiating yourself to people?
Strategy.
Yeah?
Yeah, I love strategy. And without a good strategy, you cannot be successful in social.
And is that strategy to specific industries or just generally?
Any industry.
Yeah.
As long as you get to know it and you get to know why they're in the business and why they do what they do and why they've produced these services or products to a certain consumer. That's so fun. We've done strategies that people still use today.
So if you would say the thing that you're good at, strategy.
Strategy and community management, posting, scheduling, copywriting, it all kind of falls under strategy, but we really nurture audiences and community. Because without community, what have you got?
Yeah.
What do you have on social? If you don't have a strong community.
Yeah, you've got a controlled message going to no one.
Community can do anything,
Yeah.
You launch a new product into that community, sold.
So how long did it take you to realise that? That was the thing that you guys were good at?
It's a thing that everyone comes to us for.
Really?
So I kind of like at the start, you kind of want to do a bit of everything and yeah, cool, we do this, we do that. And now it's like, nah, you and ads go somewhere else. Like we don't, because that strategy and community management takes so much time. Like if you've got one account that has an engaged community, like I can be on my phone all day replying to people because I've got this thing that I need to respond straight away. And like people will call me to the point and they go, oh, it doesn't even ring. I was like, yeah, I'm on my phone. Like I'm always on my phone.
On the phone, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, I would love to see what your screen time is.
Should we?
Yeah, let's have
Should
a
we
look.
look?
I bet it's something shocking.
It's probably like, I'm being too embarrassed to show.
What's your phone, by the way?
I turned my phone off because it wasn't. I didn't want it to.
You
I didn't want the notifications to go on.
Oh, fuck.
It's not the latest one. It's the one before
The 11.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. It's good camera.
Yeah, it's an amazing
You
camera.
can do so many good photos on a
On the iPhone. Yeah. Like I recently got, because I mainly use my phone.
Yeah.
I recently got the, this is the 12, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got this and
Is that the newer one?
this is the newer one, yeah. It basically looks the same.
It looks the same.
Yeah.
Is it bigger? Or is it more square?
This is the biggest you can get. This is the Pro Max.
Yes, I like the bigger.
Yeah.
We know when you go from
prefer
big
that.
to small, it's like, oh, this is weird.
But then you get used to it.
How do I find screen time again?
Settings. And is it under general? No. Fuck, it's a good...
Screen time. Here we go.
What's it say?
It's actually not too bad. Oh, Tuesday was a big day. Tuesday's almost 12 hours.
Jesus Christ. My daily average. My daily average is 5 hours.
It says 6 hours and 21 minutes for daily average, but I'm 13% up from last week.
Yeah. That makes sense because you've been on break.
Whoa. Yeah.
Did you take much of a break at all?
Social Instagram 16 hours and 24 minutes.
Jesus.
I'm going to put that away.
Yeah, so mine was God, what was mine for the week? Nothing like that. That just shows you, right? Jesus.
Yeah. Would you say a break?
Yeah.
I did like Christmas Day. I'm still posting and everything because you need to, but definitely I've learnt over the years to take the downtime when you have it. But in saying that, I also use this time to really set everything up for the year.
Yeah.
So,
Personally or just for the business?
Both.
Yeah.
So like I'm one of those people who like will book my dentist because it's like 6 months in advance. Like start booking in those Pilates classes, like kind of scheduling those things out, looking at staff, hiring.
Do you goal set personally for the year?
Yeah, every year.
What are your goals this year?
I haven't actually sat down and written them. Like last year, my goal was to open the office.
Okay.
And I did that. And a few other things in there, but you know, I will always set 2 or 4 main goals that I want to achieve, and then some little ones too. But and just pen to paper, sit down, and I think it's really cool to look back and see them being done.
Yeah.
Because it makes you feel inspired to keep doing it, and anything is possible.
Yeah, particularly for me, the best is when you put in a goal and it seems big, but then you've gotten it done with well and truly within the time frame.
Yeah.
I quite like that.
Yeah.
And also, like, before that time, you're like, fuck, how am I going to do this in a year? Like, my thing this year is probably a bit too chaotic. It's obviously we've got the wedding in April. Our lease here ends in July. So by July, I want to have bought a house and moved our office space.
Good on you, yeah.
So, but that to me just seems like, and have gone on a honeymoon.
It's a lot.
And have doubled our head count.
Yeah, yeah.
It seems like a bit too much. But I guess if I can get like 70, 80% of the way there, I guess it's something.
Exactly.
The house situation is the most important thing I find.
Yeah, so
I
just
think
go with the most important thing
and
let
focus on that.
because you can always work from your house.
Exactly.
Like worst case scenario. So
Yeah.
and doing all those things, I think like moving house is like one of the most stressful things you can ever do.
But once it's done, you're fine. It's just that process of it.
But things always go wrong.
Always.
And you get there and you're like, oh, when I moved into my house, like all the heaters were on and
Really?
leaking and everything. So things just happen that you just... And I had the world's worst removalist.
Fuck.
So things just happen that...
Yeah, I've learned from that you just have to pay for good removals.
Pay for good removalists.
It's just not worth
like
the
Man
cost
with the
saving.
Van, I think they're really good.
Yeah. Anything that's a highly reviewed, labelled business in the moving space, I find is just better to go with.
Yeah.
Because they got right insurance, the right amount of people. I remember we told when we moved into this place, because you saw when you came in, right? Like you go up to the 4th floor, but the developer decided, you know what? I'm not going to build a lift at the 5th floor because I can sell that extra 4 square meters or whatever the fuck it is to people who buy the penthouse thingos. So they would, and the lift is tiny. So most of our shit, because of that, we've now bought like modular stuff.
Right.
Because, you know, we had a couch that couldn't fit in the lift properly and they had to carry it up 5 flights of stairs.
No.
And like we told the removers all the stuff. They just sent 2 guys in a truck and they were meant to be done with us at 3 p.m. They were done at 7 and they had another job out in like, not Trafalgar, Traralgon.
Yeah. So it's like, no way.
I'm like, these guys are going to be going to 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And then they've got another full day tomorrow.
No, it's like, do it
fucking
right,
nightmare.
do it twice. Like,
So tell me about this app. I
Yes.
know you launched it because people were requesting something like it. How have you looked to differentiate it between what's out there at the moment? Later, plannable. Buffer's the old one that everyone refers to, but I find
There's
it's
not
not
much,
that
is
great.
there's, look, I started the Simply Social app. The idea came to me was the week of the Grand Prix.
That's right.
And we had events set up there. The Friday morning it got cancelled, and we were hearing everything that was coming from overseas, and the way the world was going wasn't looking good. So that next week I was kind of like, what else can I do? Like my whole year had just been wiped, pretty much. I could foresee that's not going to happen this year.
Right, okay.
So everything had kind of gone. And a lot of small businesses come to me, but they do not have the budget to work with us. And they ultimately want to run their own social media accounts. And I always get asked, what planner do you use? Where can I learn about social media? Hey, can I just have some advice? Hey, can I just pick your brain?
Yeah.
And it's like, God, how many times can someone say, can I just pick your brain or invite you out to coffee, and you're not charging for these services? And a lot of those people who've done that have gone and started their own social media agencies. So now I'm like, nah. Okay, so anyway, why I started the app was I wanted some place that was all in one for a small business to go to, everything they needed. So they've got their planner, their analytics, which are easy to understand in a 7-day or 30-day system. There is a memo section in there, which has been set up like a traffic light system, green for go, amber for in progress, red for not done. Like things that you need when you are in social media for your business. And often I'd have all these great ideas. I'd write them on a piece of paper in my notes and I'd never get to them because I didn't know where they were. So that's why I put that in there. The planner on there, you can plan and schedule your reels and your video content along with your imagery on there. There's also an educational section. So we've recorded lots of videos where I go through basic things like how to update your Instagram bio, how to start a strategy for yourself, what hashtags to be using, how to do your first Instagram live. Things like that people want to be able to do, they're just not too sure how to do them. And often there are questions that are already coming to my phone.
Yeah, and they don't have the budget to specifically work with you on.
Yeah, they don't, but they're keen and they want to learn. I ultimately want to help people grow on social media. I want them to succeed on social. And so we also have a 24/7 chat section on there where you can actually chat to our team. 24/7. If you've got a question, you can ask us through there, because these questions and messages were coming to me already and I was already sending out that info, but now it's all through the Simply Social app, so they can get a more detailed answer.
Yeah, so for you from a business perspective, it makes a lot of sense because you're now capturing the value of what you're already doing for free.
But also with the planner section, right, I've used every planner under the sun.
Yeah.
I've tried all of them. They all crash on me.
Yeah.
They all look like...
They all have bugs.
They look like shit.
Yeah.
They don't look sleek or clean or exciting. Like, I wanted, like, when you jump onto the Simply Social app, I wanted you to feel inspired and I wanted you to come back to this app and be excited to create and schedule and load your content and write your captions. And another thing too was with the Simply Social app, when you plan your posts, it actually syncs with your iPhone calendar or Android calendar, because often, like, you'll get a notification and you'll just forget to post that. But if you're a little bit like me and you like your day scheduled out, like, I can look at my calendar and I can be like, okay, I've got to post at 11, post at 12, post at 8. Like, I can see what's happening, and that way I'm not double booking myself, or people who use it are not double booking themselves. They're focusing on that.
Yeah, so this is an interesting thing. So in a way, being in agency land, you're creating a product that you would use yourself, so you're your own first customer.
Yeah,
at the
I
end of
was
the day.
literally, I've made this
Specifically for
and
you.
I got lots of different small businesses to trial it as well before it actually went live onto the App Store and to the Google Play Store, to see how it, like, my grandma tried it. Like, it is so simple to use. You cannot mess this up.
Some would say it's simply social.
Yeah, it's Simply Social, that's what it is. But it's very user-friendly, and I think social is so complicated if you don't take the time to understand it first. So why make something complicated? It has to be super simple, and especially if you're a new business starting, you don't have the budget for a social media agency straight away.
Yeah.
Like, let's face it, or if you do, you only have it for a short period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I agree. I think the space is super competitive, but also there's a bunch of shit. Like, we still, if I look at the creative department section of our monthly budget, we have 3 different types of planners for different platforms.
And you've got to go in and out of all them.
Yeah.
Like, how many times are you going in and
But
out?
they all have their own bugs that are
Yes.
that are constant issues. And then there's even, I don't think there's even is there a planner yet for TikTok? I don't think there is.
No. There you go.
So yeah, it's an issue still to this day, and I'm still surprised by it. And maybe that's because these businesses are not building it for agencies. Maybe they're building it for a certain other type of person.
I don't think a lot of people have used the apps that they make.
No.
Like, I use this app every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day.
We've had, again, like with the bugs, we've had repeated issues with apps that you pay a decent amount per month, and I just don't, it is sort of perplexing to me that, I've been told repeatedly by Lauren and our social media manager, maybe we should just do it manually.
Yeah, I do.
It would save the money.
Yeah, I literally did most of mine manually prior, because what would happen was
it creates more issues.
Well, they get a bug and they lose all that data.
Yeah.
And a massive data stats love it. And I literally just got fed up with, like, these programs crashing, or like your post would be planned, you go to, like, paste it into, like, Instagram, and it would just not be there.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I need to fix this. So I literally, like, went down to Officeworks, got a whiteboard, and I planned out this app. And I was like, if I was a small business, which I am a small business, what would I need in terms of social media to help me grow and build my brand?
Yeah.
And I just put it all in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's also a podcast section in there too, so you can listen to entrepreneurs, like Effie Cats.
Yeah,
and
I thought that was smart. I was like, I can't find her podcast online except on the website, and then I'm like, she's wound it into the app.
Yes.
That's a smart move.
Yeah, I took it all off Spotify and the Apple Podcasts, because
A lot of people have done that. Like, I don't know if you know Sam Harris. Like, I'm a big Sam Harris fan, and he created a meditation app.
Right.
And if you were a subscriber of the app, you got the podcast exclusively in there, plus bonus stuff, plus before everyone else, and he would publish the rest on your Apple stuff, but he actually doesn't publish it on Spotify.
Yeah.
I find it really interesting because Spotify really fucks creators in a way. Like if you're publishing free stuff, that is, not if you're streaming music. So yeah, I thought it was a smart move by you to do that.
Yeah, because you can also play it while you're planning.
Exactly.
It won't go away.
So when you're thinking about social, I think one of the funniest things you get asked, everyone gets asked a repeat question, right?
Okay.
It's like always the case in anyone who does PR regularly or they're in a certain industry, and yours is always people always asking you what's new in social. And I'm curious though, on the flip side, what isn't new? Like, what's the thing that people are constantly overlooking that never changes in social?
It's the basics.
Yeah.
It's the basic stuff like engagement. It's not hard to engage online every single day to grow and be relevant in your algorithm. So saving, liking, commenting, replying back quicker. The quicker you reply back, the higher your engagement boosts.
Yeah.
And I'm blown away by the amount of brands that I message from my account that don't even respond, or respond like 2 days after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 days after what, messaging them?
Yeah. It's just not good enough now to have a brand on social that doesn't respond quick enough.
Yeah, I find that really interesting.
Like, you have a customer
Yeah.
that is, and maybe it goes back to the flower industry, but if you've got someone there who wants to buy or who has shown interest in your brand, that is an opportunity that you need to, maybe it's real estate, that you need to seal the deal before they go somewhere else.
It's always alarm bells when you get an account and you've got access to their profiles and all of a sudden there's issues related, like they've got like 20 unread messages or something like that. Yeah.
Well, and customers are really quick now.
Yeah.
So they can leave a review on Facebook really quickly, or they can email your customer service, or they could go anywhere. They could go Google review. So you have to really nurture them.
It's funny you mention that, because I found that with the talent that we bring on board, they always give us access to their social stuff, and when we're looking at the deal side of things, they're telling us every week, I want you to go through our social inbox and scope for deals. Like, because a lot of people will request a message them. If they've got 1 million followers, it's very hard to keep up with that as one person.
Yeah.
So if they're saying that, then I think that's an indicator for brands that you should be considering that. So when you go to someone, because we've had this recently, we'll say, okay, we've got the copywriting element, the design asset, or like designing and asset sourcing, copywriting, community engagement is like another component of that social bracket.
Yeah.
How do you convince them that they should be spending more of the percentage of dollars they're spending on the community element than they are on, say, copywriting or asset design, etc., if they can afford it?
So you spend more on community management?
Yeah, because oftentimes, like, we had this recently with a client, and we told them about it, and they're like, nah, it's all right, we don't need it. And I just think, like...
Don't need community management?
Yeah, like, if you gave our social manager an hour or two a week just to delve deep into that little ecosystem...
Like? It's like putting a plant in a pot without soil.
Yeah. Or not,
and not
watering it. Yeah.
Like, that's what it's like. It's
okay, that's a good analogy.
Or you're not feeding it like the manure or the
nutrients.
The nutrients it needs to grow. Because
it's like having a bonsai and not watering it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's the analogy. But like, yeah, they'd be a no from me. I'm like, because why? Like, you are spending the time to create the content, the copy, you're posting on there.
People aren't just going to come in on their own free will.
No.
You've got to have very, very engaging. Like, you've got to be a person.
Yeah, you've got to be on social.
Yeah.
You've got to be social on social.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, people do. That's funny.
They forget the social element of social media.
Yeah. It's like rocking up to a party and sort of I don't know, just standing there
Yeah.
and just
not talking to anyone.
like just holding your phone or just scrolling on something and like imagining people will just come up to you and start. Yeah, I've always found that odd, but people still push back on it, which I always find interesting. On a point of these interviews and this question that you always get, what do you wish that people asked you more? Like, what's a topic that you could talk about for ages that you never get to discuss in those interviews? Cavoodles?
Cavoodles. I've got a spoodle.
Spoodle, sorry.
That's okay. It's the same thing. Some little dogs. I love to talk about business and growing business, and actually I talk about that with heaps of people.
But people don't maybe delve into it as much as they could with you.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because I found
It's a tricky one.
in some of the interviews, like you got asked about a leader and you referenced Gary Vaynerchuk, and most of the stuff that you get asked is always about social and fashion.
Yeah, it is. I love renovating.
Yeah.
I love interiors and design and that process, or sourcing unique things. I hate having what everyone else has. I hate it. And I was like, I always try and look and find for something a bit different.
Yeah.
So, I always love finding different little unique things.
Okay, so you can say interiors.
Interiors, but also maybe health and wellness too, because that is so important to running a business now, and it's something that I probably didn't take as seriously probably until that COVID happened.
Really?
Like actually having a proper lunch break, or having dinner at a certain time, or
Sitting in
making
the morning.
a green smoothie in the morning. Things that actually make you feel better, to perform better, to do a better job at what you're doing.
Yeah.
To support you, because you forget about that element.
We're taking care of the basics, like you said.
Yeah.
The social.
Yeah, exactly.
It's sort of a similar thing.
Yeah, it's a similar thing. Yeah.
All right, I want to ask you some rapid fire questions to
go for
finish
it.
things off. We were speaking before about your morning routine, I guess. What at night are you currently doing to decompress, if at all?
I have just recently completed watching the reruns of The City on YouTube, where Whitney Port and her partner talk through it. So literally I'll watch YouTube.
Were you a big fan of Gossip Girl?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved Gossip Girl.
I got a feeling we've got a similar inkling or feeling towards that imagery of New York.
Yeah, I love New York.
Yeah, because I've noticed in a lot of interviews you reference
it's just
the
that they've got a
obsession
different hustle, a different drive. And do you know what the biggest difference is? In New York, people will just have coffee with you at 10 o'clock at night. And they'll be like, it'd be like us, we both got social media agencies or content agencies, and we're open, we're having an open conversation. Whereas it's like, no, I can't speak to you, I can't, no, but in New York or overseas, it's like, let me help you do this, or let's work on this together and grow together, or you do this element. And
that's a distinctly Australian perspective.
Yeah.
That is like, a lot of people, there's pros and cons to every system. I remember we went to Japan and I was fascinated by just the way that they live and how their society is constructed, and you look at it and you go, for the conscientious individual, it's perfect. Like, my dad loves it, I love it, Lauren loves it. But there are so many downsides to it as well.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing here. We are a very non-hierarchical, very chilled type of country, but it also makes us very lax.
Yeah.
People always talk about what's happened in the US about COVID, but I honestly think it's just a cultural thing. It would never happen here because it's a dog-eat-dog world in America. But that's also why they've got the leading economy in the world, because they're just so competitive. It's literally just...
I love the competitiveness there.
There's nowhere else like it. People often talk about China, but you only see that competitiveness in the special economic zones like Hong Kong and Shenzhen and so on. It doesn't exist in the rest of the country because it's all state-owned enterprise. But you go to the US and it's remarkable. but also
But you get burnt out really quick.
you get burnt out real
And
quickly.
yeah.
You know, like unlike here, you don't have your healthcare covered.
Exactly.
All these little things that we cherish here,
It's not there.
it's not there. But you know, they have things that we don't have. So
Yeah.
it's always I've always
Still
been
on my
fascinated
list.
by it. Like
Still on my list.
I love just like observing it.
Yeah.
Like my favorite comedian George Carlin, he was from New York. Used to say that he feels like he's at the front row of the freak show, which I always like as a good little
I like that.
good little line.
Yeah.
and
even
just observing it.
Like going to cafes or something there and like the conversations you overhear.
It's just
Because
ridiculous.
they're so loud. Like, it's just so, yeah, it's great.
Did you ever watch Casey Neistat's vlogs when he was in New York?
No,
Oh, you would have loved that.
you watch it. I'm all into YouTube right now, so
Yeah.
I'll watch anything on YouTube.
Best purchase under $200 during 2020 that helped you during COVID?
Okay, best purchase was, I don't have it with me, but Lacis.
Lacis.
It's a phone case started
yeah.
by Jess Dempsey. And it is a phone case, but you stick it onto like a window.
Oh, yeah, I know it.
And you can like record your own videos.
And Wish did like a cheapo like copy version, and they ran ads against it, and it was like this whole meme and everything. Yeah, I know exactly.
Well, it's like
what
it
you're
just
talking
sticks on, and like you wipe it to clean it. That was really. I think it was like, it's definitely under $200, but it was so good.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that was.
I would say the things of last year when it came to creators and all that was that device. The little ring lights. All of a sudden, ring lights like that one got made into little small
little
ones that were
ones?
portable.
Yes.
I remember we did a campaign with one of our creators on a USA Glow Tech.
Okay.
They had like the biggest one in the States. What was the other thing that became huge in terms of content creation? I think the fact that like cameras became incredible. Actually, do you know what? I think it was the camera quality on iPhones has changed
A lot.
everything.
Yeah.
I
Even
think
like
the
the
days of
4K.
having these mirrorless cameras for the majority of people are well and truly done.
Well, you can do like, the film, the 4K.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely
the
ridiculous.
quality is incredible.
Like the quality is as good as these. These are mirrorless cameras. Obviously, the level of pixel you get on this camera is a little bit higher than the iPhone. The lens is obviously better, and it's obviously that camera is going to be better. But I can see that overtaking the mirrorless cameras in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
But if for the vast majority of people, every time we've interviewed photographers, they all say, don't even bother. Just get a really good iPhone. Just invest in that.
Yeah.
Because it's got that dual purpose.
Yeah.
Buy the equipment that goes with it and start there. All right, last question for you. If you could have a billboard anywhere in Melbourne, where would it be? So think about placement. And secondly, what would you put on it?
I'd have making social media simple, big image of the app
Yeah?
and app store thing, and I go hard, put it everywhere.
Just put it everywhere.
I'd actually probably do it in a lot of regional towns because my target market is small businesses.
You wouldn't put
The app.
make social great again? Something like that.
I could do that.
That has to be the most cliched utilised
My
line
dad's
of the
American. I could
Is
get
he?
him.
Where? Actually, I read that. Where in the States is your dad from?
North Dakota.
Okay, wow.
Hence Dakota Flower Company.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always...
Small little town. There is nothing to do there. We've been
I'm
there so many
fascinated
times.
by... I'm actually more interested in the Midwest of America.
Okay.
Like, I'm really interested in Utah, Idaho,
Yeah.
the Dakotas. I watched an absolutely ridiculous show recently that was on Stan, the family that owns the cattle farm, and they're always fucking fighting about something.
Yeah.
But it was in...
Sounds like a family business.
Yeah. It wasn't in the Dakotas. It was the state that's just beneath it. Anyway, the point is, I'm more interested about Middle America than
Right.
than
This is like
actually
on the
cities.
border of like almost near Canada.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Super cold.
Indy, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
How can people find you on the interwebs Where exactly would you point them?
To my Instagram, which is Indianna Roehrich.
Okay.
And head to Simply Social MGT on Instagram, and you can find the app and everything there.
If you Google Simply Social PR or Simply Social Management, it'll come up straight away. It's a good SEO. Well done.
Thanks. Don't know what I did there. Probably something I did at like 2 a.m. And
Yeah,
I was like,
of
I'll
course.
add those in.
So that's all there. We'll link that, of course. But
Thank you.
Thanks for coming
Thanks
in.
for having me. It's a great way to kick off 2021.
Exactly.
Let's
Thank
do
you.
this.
Thank you so much for checking out this episode. If you do like it, please subscribe, and of course, like if you're watching the YouTube video as well. We'd really appreciate that. You can also find our Clips channel in the description. For audio, if you're not already listening, you can search Uncommon on Pocket Cast, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts quite easily. For video, if you're not watching, you can search Uncommon on YouTube. And for behind the scenes takes and clips on social media, then definitely check out @uncommon_show on Instagram. But otherwise, look, thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time, thanks for listening.